The historic sanctuary of First Parish in Cambridge wrapped around me like a promise. Soft, colored light fell through the stained glass, painting the ancient wooden pews in hues of gold and crimson. It was late May, and a sweet, petal-laden breeze drifted in from the garden where azaleas bloomed. The deep, solemn voice of the pipe organ resonated in my chest. This was where I would marry Nathan. "You're certain about this venue?" The coordinator's concern was gentle but clear. Our budget, $25,000, was less than half the local average. Nathan and I had chosen to prioritize his student loans over a single day's spectacle. "Yes," I said, my smile unwavering. "It's perfect." The reception would be at the adjacent Harvest restaurant. Its brick walls and soft chandelier light ample for our 50 guests. It was a modest, heartfelt plan, true to who we were, two researchers, me in a Harvard lab and Nathan at MIT, building a life on a combined salary that demanded careful choices. We believed in a happiness built on honesty, not extravagance. I carried that certainty home, only to have it shattered. Our living room was an alien landscape of glossy brochures for destination weddings and designer gowns. My sister Vanessa sat enthroned amidst them, her fiancé James beside her. As an executive at a major pharmaceutical firm, his $400,000 salary funded a $150,000 wedding fantasy, a champagne tower for 200 guests, caviar, a celebrity chef. "Isn't it magnificent?" My mother's eyes shone with a light I never saw for me. Their retirement savings had been funneled into Vanessa's future, the golden child whose life mirrored their aspirations. When I shared my own plans, the light vanished. "That cheap church?" Vanessa's contempt was a familiar sting. I could never show my face. Then came the colder, deeper cut. "I'll attend Vanessa's wedding," my mother said, her voice final. "But I won't come to yours." My father's silent nod was the seal. Their affection had always had a destination, and it was never me. Tears blurred the Harvard greenery outside my train window, but Nathan's voice on the phone was my anchor. "We have our own happiness, Olivia. We have 50 people who can't wait to celebrate us." Our wedding day dawned, a flawless May morning. Sunlight gilded the old church spire, and azaleas nodded in the breeze, scattering petals like blessings. My bridal party was not family, but chosen family, my best friend Sarah, colleagues from the lab, their hands arranging simple flowers with more love than any florist's contract could hold. "Your mother, Vanessa?" Sarah asked softly as she helped me into my dress. "They're not coming." I said it aloud, and the anticipated pain was tempered by a strange, steady calm. When the processional began, I saw only Nathan waiting at the altar, his eyes bright, and the warm, smiling faces of those who chose to be there. His vows filled the sacred space. Let's live honestly, supporting, encouraging, and never forgetting to be grateful. The light through the stained glass seemed to hold us in its embrace. At the harvest reception, laughter and the scent of clam chowder filled the historic room. It was then that Thomas Walker, a titan of the pharmaceutical industry, approached. He had shown interest in my research before, but now he offered a different kindness. "A beautiful ceremony, Dr. Miller," full of genuine heart. His praise was sincere, which made his next question land like a stone in water. "But where is your family? Are they unwell?" A quiet fell over our table. The polite fiction I'd offered was about to unravel. Before I could answer, Thomas's own phone chimed. His expression shifted from polite concern to cold disbelief as he read the screen. Without a word, he handed it to me. There, on Vanessa's Instagram, was a photo of her amidst a pile of luxury shopping bags. The caption lanced through me. "Couldn't subject my followers to my sister's bargain bin wedding. Real luxury is knowing what's worth your time, right?" Beneath it, my mother's comment glowed. "Our precious girl understands true celebration. Save the spotlight for your big day." The air left the room. I felt the gaze of every guest. "My family," I said, my voice clear and strangely calm, "found my wedding too modest to attend." Thomas Walker stood. The warmth in his eyes had solidified into something steely. "Please excuse me. An urgent matter requires my attention." From a quiet corner, his low, commanding voice began a chain reaction. "Mr. President, we have a significant ethical issue. We must immediately suspend all dealings with the Richardson family and review the luxury development partnership." He drafted emails. He joined a rapid video conference with grim-faced executives. Actions that disregard basic human dignity are incompatible with our corporate philosophy, he stated, his words formal and devastating. Across the city, the fallout began in real time. James's phone erupted first, a furious, echoing shout we could hear from the restaurant patio. Vanessa, what have you done? The contracts are void. You've ruined us. Then my phone lit up, vibrating with a cascade of texts from my sister, first panic, then fury, then desperate, tear-filled pleading. The world she had built her identity upon was cracking, and the fault line, to her shock, led directly back to the cheap church she'd scorned. I looked out at the gathering, at Nathan's hand in mine, at the friends laughing over Boston cream pie, at the gentle sunset over Harvard Square. The emptiness of those few chairs no longer felt like a wound. It felt like a truth, finally acknowledged. Our joy was not diminished. It was refined, authentic, and unshakably ours. The celebration around me continued, warmer and more real than any champagne tower could ever be. The sound of the door crashing open shattered the reception's gentle hum. There they stood, my family, a portrait of unraveled perfection. Mother's careful composure had melted into smudged mascara and wild-eyed panic. Vanessa, in her designer dress, trembled like a leaf in a storm. All her haughty confidence dissolved. Father just gaped, words failing him, his face ashen. Olivia, please. Mother's wail was raw, stripped of all its usual cultured veneer. It was a sound of pure, undignified terror. You have to fix this, Vanessa choked out, her voice cracking. James's company, everything is falling apart. The engagement, it's over unless you help, please. A profound, frozen silence gripped the room. 50 sets of eyes watched, wide with a mixture of shock and grim understanding. The soft chandelier light now felt like a spotlight on a stage where the final act was beginning. I took a slow, deliberate sip of champagne. The bubbles were crisp, the flavor dry and clear. It was not the most expensive vintage, but in that moment, it tasted of truth. Would you kindly sit down? I said, my voice calm and measured, cutting through their chaos. It's poor form to make a spectacle of yourselves. The command, so quiet yet so firm, seemed to shock them into a semblance of order. They stumbled into empty chairs, a tangle of designer fabric and despair. Nathan's hand found mine under the table. His steady grip was my anchor. It's all collapsing. Vanessa sobbed into her hands, the words spilling out in a frantic torrent. The $50 million deals. Thomas Walker's company is leading a review. Everyone is pulling out. James says I've ruined him. My life is ruined. Is that so? I set my glass down with a soft click. And this collapse, did it begin when you posted that my wedding was too cheap for your followers? When you declared yourself too embarrassed to be my sister? Thomas Walker rose then, his presence commanding the room's attention. Ms. Richardson, he said, addressing Vanessa, though his words were for everyone. This is no longer a private slight. It is a public demonstration of values, or a profound lack thereof. Your post, and your parents' endorsement of it, showcases a cruelty and a materialism that is antithetical to the ethical partnerships we build. The business world runs on trust. Who would trust a partner who so openly mocks family, scorns sincerity, and measures worth only by a price tag? My father put his head in his hands. We are already fielding calls from associates, Thomas continued, his tone lethally professional. They are asking why they should be in business with a family that so publicly dishonors its own. Vanessa opened her mouth, another desperate excuse forming on her lips. Enough, Vanessa. My voice, sharper than I had ever used with her, silenced her. She stared at me, truly seeing me, perhaps for the first time. You are reaping the harvest of the seeds you chose to sow, I said, picking up my dessert fork. I carefully cut a piece of the Boston cream pie, the smooth custard yielding neatly. You could not celebrate with me. You chose instead to mock me. You taught your world, and now the wider world, exactly who you are. Why are you surprised they believe you? I placed the forkful of dessert in my mouth. The sweetness was profound, a simple, honest joy. But we're family, Vanessa cried, the last weapon in her arsenal, now blunted and desperate. I tilted my head, considering her. The warmth of Nathan's hand in mine gave me a fortress of peace. Family. I repeated softly. How interesting. Just this morning. Family was something you were too embarrassed to be a part of. You made your choice. And now, I said, gesturing gently to the room filled with the friends who had lifted me up, to the man who was my future, to the dignified man who valued integrity over extravagance, I have made mine. The silence that followed was different. The tension had broken, not with a bang, but with the quiet, final settling of a truth that could no longer be denied. The storm they had brought with them had dissipated against the unshakable calm of the life Nathan and I had built, a life that, it turned out, was far richer than they could ever understand.